Now let's now talk the Continental Free Trade Agreement, because Ghana will not be able to compete with the likes of Kenya, South Africa and Ethiopia in the Continental Free Trade Agreement. This is contained in a research paper by CAT International Ghana, which has called for a national implementation strategy and action plan that provides systematic, on-CAT inclusive and processes towards measures to ensure after implementation is run smoothly. The research lists 7 challenges impeding the capacity by Ghanaian businesses to compete on the Continental Free Trade. And of course, we shall show you 7 of these challenges. The first being the limited knowledge about Continental Free Trade Agreement area. The second being the high cost of production. Also the poor packaging and finishing of goods and services. The high cost of credit. Limited motivation, to export, particularly for small, medium enterprises. Inadequate skilled labor, bottlenecks in administrative and regulatory procedures. These, among others, are the stark challenges impeding Ghana and the business community at that from competing on the Continental Free Trade Agreement area. Apia Dumako is with CAT International, and he joins us via Zoom for an extension of what we're making out of this report. We're grateful that you joined us. What other findings does this research expose?
Okay, so the research was conducted before trading started under the AfCFTA, and we spoke to a lot of businesses from the SMEs and also the multinationals.
All right.
And we found that the SMEs in Ghana are not well positioned to be able to trade and compete with the likes of companies that are from countries in South Africa or Kenya, Cote d'Ivoire, and even Morocco and Senegal, and largely because of some framework conditions that we have in this country, especially with regards to the high cost of borrowing and lack of some certain skills for manufacturing sector to be able to produce. For we spoke to one pharmaceutical firm, and they said that when their machine breaks down, they have to import experts from other countries to come and fix them. Though we live in Ghana, we say that jobs are not here, but I tell you that there are lots of jobs that cannot be filled today because we don't have skill set. People don't have the skill set for those job, and these are some of the findings that we found in the study.
So, of course, you stated rightly that this was done before trading began on the 1st of January, but what recommendations have been proposed under this research paper?
And so I think we recommended that the national implementation strategy needs to be worked out, and thankfully government has taken notice of it, and we have the national strategy, the national country office for implementing the AfCFTA. We've seen some of the work, but I think that most of the effort should be geared towards supporting the SMEs, because the SME constitute about 80% of the economy, and the study said that only 13% of SMEs are aware of AfCFTA. And so focus should be on SMEs, and because SMEs are largely Ghanaian owned, and whenever they make profits, the profit stays in the country, unlike the multinationals. And so I think every strategy that we have, of course, we shouldn't leave the multinationals out, but I think that we also need to grow a homegrown strategy. Let's help the Ghanaian private sector, the SMEs, to take full advantage in terms of the support. In fact, credit is an issue because firms in Ghana are still borrowing between 25 to 30%. And when firms in South Africa and Kenya and let's say Tunisia are borrowing at 5%, then it means that Ghanaian SMEs may find it difficult to compete, because with this AfCFTA, goods are coming in duty-free and quota-free into Ghana. And if your cost of production is high, it makes your final product expensive. And when consumer goes into the market, the consumer is not a nationalistic purchaser. Consumer is looking at what his money can buy and not to say that, oh, this product is from Ghana and it is 30 cities, and one from South Africa is, let's say, 20 cities, and then the consumer will look at the Ghana one, South Africa down, and then buy the Ghana one. No, the consumer will want where he can maximize utilities.
Great,
so
but of course we appreciate this factor of the cost of lending. Of course, the AGR has also raised so much concerns regarding the cost of lending, despite the fact that we've seen, you know, a regular decrease in the policy rate. It's just not being reflected across the banks. From the perspective of CART International, how do we put this, you know, matter to rest once and for all? What policy directive must be effected to ensure that we witness a clear translation of the reduction in policy rate in the cost of lending?
I think a lot of work has been done. I remember in 2016, for example, the then Minister of Trade, Honorable Dr. Gabriel, started a project, War on High Inflation. And I think the banks were saying that the risk in lending in Ghana is too high, and for that reason, they need to put a premium on it so that they can control. But gradually now, because of information, Ghana Card, a lot of information are available for the banks about borrowers. And so I think most of these risks that the banks have been talking about are unfounded now. Maybe in the past, those risks were real, but today I think that the risks that they talk about, most of them are not available now. And so the banks need to do more about it. Because if a firm in Kenya or South Africa is lending between 4 to 7%, and you are still lending at 25, 30%, I think that you need to sit up and, of course, government action can also, drive the cost of borrowing. And when government is also, maybe sometimes too, it's not even the issue of borrowing. The rate. Sometimes we go to the bank. The bank sees a lot of risks in lending to you. But when they lend to government, that is also easy for them. It's risk-free for them. And the cost of, they will not have to go to court in case you default. Government default, because government is sovereign and government is credible. But if government stop borrowing from the local banks, I think that there will be enough money available for the private banks to lend to the private sector.
All right, but beyond this, of course, if you could pull up some of the challenges that you highlighted in your report, the matter regarding, you know, the lack of incentive for these guys to export, you know, within our fray. If you could pull up that particular graphic for our viewers to see, to appreciate what exactly we're trying to, talk about. The very, issue regarding the limited motivation to export, particularly for SMEs. What exactly is there when it comes to motivation for SMEs to export within the African market?
So for most SMEs, they feel that the Ghanaian market is okay for them. So they don't see any incentives for them to go to an unknown territory.
When you say incentives, what exactly do we mean by incentives?
So they think that they are doing well in the Ghanaian market. So why should they export to Nigeria or South Africa or Kenya or whatever? So there's no incentives for them because they are satisfied with what? And most of these businesses are largely family-owned and not the normal formal sectors where you think that they have a lot of information about research and development and product information about the other markets. So that is one. And also to go into exporting into other markets, you need to have a lot of resources. You even need to have credit, because when you are sending goods to a third country, sometimes you may have to give the goods to them on credit, 60 days credit.
All right.
And if you don't have the money to give that product on credit, you won't be able to supply.
Great.
And so they don't want to worry themselves that much. They feel that they are making decent profits from the Ghanaian sales. And so that should be enough for them.
We're so grateful that you joined us for your explanation to this report that we're just getting from CAT International regarding Ghana's competitiveness ahead of the Continental Feature, which is, of course, already operational since January 1.